Hello everyone, I'm Babla Jonathan. You're welcome to this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television Live from my headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital. Dwelling our top stories, Mancho BBC declared guilty of terrorism, secession and revolution, but other charges concerning other charges, he has been declared acquitted. The case was adjourned to the 8th of May 2018. That was yesterday at the Yaoundé military court. Also in this newscast, we shall take you to Bello to show you the devastating impact of the Anglophone crisis. Stay with us. Thanks for joining me in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Mancho BBC, one of the prominent detainees of the Anglophone crisis, is yet to know his fate. His verdict, or the verdict in his case, will be pronounced maybe on the 8th of May 2018. The case was adjourned yesterday by the Yaoundé military court. Meantime, he was declared guilty of terrorism, secession and a revolution, but declared acquitted of other charges, including a rebellion, destruction of a property, and non-possession of the national identity card. He was equally declared not guilty of violence, and these are some of the issues that were raised during the hearing of that case at the military court in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. It should be noted that it went in late into the night, scheduled to start at 2 p.m. It finally started at about 6:30 to 7 p.m. yesterday, and the case was simply adjourned again to the 8th of May 2018 when the final verdict may be pronounced. Now, today, ministers converged around the Prime Minister Philemon Yang at the Star Building in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, and the main issue on the discussion table was bilingualism and multiculturalism at a time when the Anglophone crisis has continued to worsen, and the Bilingualism and Multiculturalism Commission, led by former Prime Minister Peter Mafani Musonge, was in the southwest region, and the commission held for the first time a public hearing in that part of the country to listen to the problems of the people. And during that meeting, the commission president Peter Mafani Musonge said the situation in the two Anglophone regions of the country is serious. Derijato Asmo.
The National Commission of Bilingualism, Multiculturalism and Living Together is today for the first time in the southwest region to listen to the people's grievances and contributions on how the commission can better succeed in its mission. A commission critics say President Paul Biya created to water down flames in the two Anglophone regions. But today,
the situation is serious, very serious, and the head of state is aware of it. The situation is becoming unbearable, and that is why the head of state has decided to strengthen dialogue by sending to the field this time around all the members of the latest instruments which he assigned to promote living together by consolidating peace.
Many, if not all, have said this former Cameroon Prime Minister, Mr. Peter Mafani Musonge, President of the Bilingualism Commission, is very right. Things are worsening by the day in the two Anglophone regions.
Even the policemen, the military men are intimidating people. Mr. President, there is no more peace in Cameroon. There is no more freedom in Cameroon. We don't move the gates. We don't carry on our activities.
But differ with the commission on many fronts. The strides presented by the commission as a way forward of the Anglophone crisis, they say, are mere window dressing.
The government has to really be serious. They might be underestimating what is happening, but like someone who is on the ground, the situation is very serious. The situation is extremely tense, So to me, there is no dialogue. No dialogue is taking place, and it cannot just be dialogue of those in power.
Today, the commission has come out with one hope.
I therefore call on him to seize this opportunity to freely speak of the problems you encounter on a day-to-day basis as concerns the practice of bilingualism, multiculturalism, and living together without any fear of being arrested by anyone whatsoever, given that the Commission is, according to the vision of its creator, at the service of all Cameroonians and not of some Cameroonians or a certain party.
Critics say this was not the case in the past. Before now, any person with a contrary opinion was considered an enemy to the state and treated as such. Talking about living together, the commission was given a question to take to President Paul Biya of what has become of the Deep Limbe Seaport and how bilingual are documented in Cameroon, the armed forces and their institutions, even after the creation of the Bilingualism Commission.
And 1 year after that commission for the promotion of bilingualism and multiculturalism in the Republic of Cameroon was created, critics say it hasn't provided solutions to the problems for which it was created. The commission, led by Mafani Musonge, former Prime Minister, has been carrying out a series of activities but not impacting the people as far as the problems for which they were created are concerned. Smanjikan Gibre has more.
In the midst of the decaying unstable socio-political tension in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon, which has led to the death of many civilians as well as security officials, the destruction of properties and fleeing away from homes by several inhabitants of villages in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, was born the National Commission on the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, and at its helm Peter Mafane Musonge. The Musonge-led commission was created at a time when international organizations and countries had called for an inclusive dialogue, but instead Paul Biya, head of state, formed the commission to propose solutions to the crisis. One of the major duties of the commission was to promote bilingualism and multiculturalism in Cameroon with a view to maintaining peace, consolidating the country's national unity, and also to monitor the implementation of the constitutional provisions establishing English and French as the two official languages of equal status, and especially ensuring their use in all government services, semi-public bodies as well as any state subsidized body. 1 year after the creation of the National Commission on the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, Peter Mafane Musonge has managed to move around some ministries to remind them about the need to translate the documents into the two official languages of Cameroon. Apart from that, the immediate reasons that led to the creation of the commission, the Anglophone crisis hasn't seen a solution yet. Many are now questioning if the NCPBM commission was actually the immediate answer to the socio-political environment that is plaguing the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon.
It should be noted that failure by the Biya regime to respect some laid down laws of the land concerning bilingualism and multiculturalism, and notably with regards to the Anglophone part of the country, the northwest and the southwest regions, is one of the numerous causes of the escalation of violence in the two Anglophone regions of the country, and the situation has continued worsening. Politician and educationist Dr. Nick Nguyen says it is more complicated. Here's him.
Be it the Mancho BBC case or the Anglophone detainee cases or the Anglophone problem, is a very complex thing. And, you know, when you ask a question, should they be sentenced or should they not be sentenced? What should happen? You know, there's no yes or no answer because it's a very tricky thing. But what I would like to say is that you will get it right if you work on principles. But if you don't work on principles, you get yourself into a lot of difficulties. Working on principles is not only for the people, it's for the government, it's for the people, it's for the citizens and so on. The question we should be asking is, have we been doing things in Cameroon working on principles? Do we respect principles? Do we have strong institutions, or do we have strong individuals? Do we respect common good? Do we work according to God's precepts? Do we know what justice is? So many of these things, we would like to say, let justice be done or sin to be done, but do we actually know what justice is? That's the problem. So if you don't know what justice is, anything else that you're going to do which does not follow the proper definition of justice will always have problems.
Nick Ngwanyam, politician and education, is speaking to our Northwest correspondent Stella Mbu. Now we take you to Bello, a locality in the Boyo division, northwest region of the country. The situation of that village speaks volumes of the worsening situation on the ground. Here's the situation in Bello. Streets deserted. Houses closed. Shops closed. Few traders and goods begging for buyers in markets. This is the picture of several parts of the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Bello subdivision in Boyo division, northwest region of Cameroon, is one of those areas suffering the terror, devastating, bloody and deadly impacts of the Anglophone crisis. Many of the villagers have fled violence. Gun battles between armed civilians on one hand and security and defense forces on the other hand forced them out of their houses to other areas less affected by the socio-political and security crisis. Young people in particular have abandoned their village after a series of arrests, abduction, killing of both civilians and security and defense forces. Houses invaded by vegetation have become residents of animals. Business activities have been grounded. The transport sector is one of the most affected. Drivers spend days at parks like this one in Ginicom without receiving even a single passenger to embark on a journey out of the village. Schools are functioning at half-mast, so to speak. Security and defense forces are parading the villages. Some are stationed at strategic areas. That is the situation in Bello and of course many other parts of the northwest and southwest regions of the country where villages have simply been deserted, and the situation is getting worse by the day as government tarries to provide solutions to the worsening Anglophone crisis. And in the meantime, men of God have been praying for peace to return to the two Anglophone regions of the country and the entire nation as a whole. In Limbe, some men and women of God as well as Christians in general converge to pray and call on God to intervene in the situation. Details with Davidson Maimo in Limbe.
Drawn from all the denominations operating in Tiko subdivision, these men and women of God are lying and others kneeling down in tears, crying to God for mercy and peace. The Anglophone crisis have not only taken their peace away, but also lives of many, and every day blood is still being spilled on their land. Some of their loved ones are missing, others are in bushes, while others are in Nigeria under life-threatening conditions as refugees. There is no effective schools in the northwest and southwest regions. Fear is everywhere. These men of God believe that the evil spirit is gaining ground on their land, and their prophet, within and even out of the country, are seeing more darker days in the Anglophone regions. Reason why they are seeking for divine intervention for peace.
Arise on your throne. Arise on your throne. And rule this land. We came to pray for everybody. We came to pray for the church of God. We pray for the church of God and the land. I want to hear everybody pray for the land, pray for the room, pray for the city, pray for your children, pray for your family.
Taking place at the Tiko ceremonial grandstand, Mr. Amafo Kletos Azongwe, the divisional officer for Tiko subdivision, the main organizer of this ecumenical service, told the Tiko people to always seek the face of the Lord.
It is therefore a call on us to believe in God, to integrate ourselves in the purpose of God, and surrender ourselves to the rules that is good for us. We know also, when we follow the letter of St. Paul to the Romans, chapter 13, verses 1, it helps us to know that woe unto those who stand against the authorities. For all authority comes from God, and He also calls on us to respect this authority.
This is the first ecumenical service for peace since the start of the Anglophone crisis some 2 years ago.
That was rather Derek Jato Aboye-based corresponding reporting there on the situation as men and women of God converge in Tiko to pray for God's intervention as the crisis in the two Anglophone regions of the country continues deepening. Now we go out of the country. A huge protest by trade unions in South Africa has been rocking several parts of that country. Many of the trade unionists in their thousands took to the streets in different cities over a number of issues they want the government of the country to address as a matter of urgency. A special envoy to South Africa, Mimi Mefo, has the details.
Streets in Cape Town, South Africa were today inundated by thousands of workers who were protesting against a minimum wage of 20 rands per hour, which is equivalent to 550 francs CFA.
The insult of 20 rand in this democracy, comrades. Amandla!
We want to unroll the ongoing mass action up to the last day of this year in resistance with the 20 rand, 18 rand, 15 rand, and 11 rand.
The protest organized by the South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, was embraced by other major cities across the country. The 20 rand minimum wage per hour described by the unionists as starvation wages was approved by Cabinet in November 2017, and to the new President Cyril Ramaphosa, it would go a long way to tackle labor instability and wage inequality.
The reason we are here today is because we are demanding from our government a living wage. We are here today because we reject the national poverty wage of 20 rand per hour. This government is in power today because of the suffering of the working class. We are the ones who sacrificed ultimately, in order for them to make it into power, for them to negotiate 20 rand per hour is a betrayal of workers and their families, particularly when you consider the fact that CEOs in South Africa earn 69,000 rands a day.
We've rejected the 20 rand per hour as suggested by the ANC government led by President Cyril Ramaphosa. We are also rejecting the 11 rand per hour, which is said to be given to those who are domestic workers, and 18 rand per hour that is going to be given to those who are working in the farms. We're clear that there is no one that can be able to live a normal life out of 20 rand per hour.
This general outcry over the bill is an indication that its implementation phase may delay. The trade unionists, who are also demanding for better working conditions, marched to the City of Cape Town's offices, where a memorandum was handed to the city officials.
And I would like to confirm that the memorandum of demands will be responded to as stipulated in the memorandum.
SAFTU, the South African Federation Trade Union, represents 30 unions with close to 800,000 members, making it the second largest union federation in the country.
In sports, critics have continued questioning Cameroon's readiness to host the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations with regards to what they consider as the slow pace of execution of construction works on sporting infrastructures, notably in stadia across the country, notably in the city of Yaoundé, Douala, and Bafoussam, and of course Limbe, the cities that will be hosting encounters of the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. And the governor of the center region of Cameroon, Asiri Paul Bea, visited some construction sites in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, and here is an extract of what he told Marcelin Gansop in Yaoundé.
We have realized that the work has evolved since our last visit to the site. And we have given a number of instructions which have to be followed for the work to meet up with the delay which we gave to the CAF team.
Nasiri Paul Bea, governor of the Central Region of the Republic of Cameroon, speaking on the construction works going on at the different construction sites as far as sporting infrastructures, notably stadia that will welcome the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations are concerned. And Marcelin Gansop in Yaoundé equally caught up with an official of the company in charge of the construction of the Olembe Stadium, and this is what he had to say concerning the advancement of construction works.
Well, the works have advanced in all areas, not only the stadium. The stadium has advanced also in all its zones. The main structure is on track, and actually it's ahead of its program. To give you a figure, for instance, I mean, we increased the amount of concrete pouring from 150 cubic meters to 1,000. So that's like how many times? It's like 6 times more. The rain has not really hurt us. Actually, we've produced more in the rainy season than in the dry season. And it's on course according to the program. For the risers are here, and we have installed a big portion. The idea is, okay, we want to finish with the main structure for the safety of these elements, okay, and then we'll install all the rest. And by the next visit that we're expecting, these risers should be all installed. The precast structures in concrete and also the structure of steel elements for the stadium structures are coming with the next one, or 2 ships. The next one arrives 27th of April at night, and then the second one, which is the last one for the stadium, is due to be here on the 10th of May. It's already left Italy 3 days ago.
That's it for the first segment of this edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Coming up next is Talking Point. Thanks for joining us in Talking Points. We are receiving a legal mind, Barrister Tamfu Richard, lawyer and member of the Cameroon Bar Association, and with him we're going to be discussing the decisions of the Yaoundé Military Court concerning the case of Mancho, BBC and other detainees of the Anglophone crisis. Barrister, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Babila.
Beginning with Mancho BBC, one of the prominent detainees of the Anglophone crisis, the Yaoundé Military Court has decided that he is guilty of terrorism, secession and revolution, but he has been acquitted of other charges.
Yes, we all know that he was being prosecuted on a series of charges. So the court has surely found that there were some charges that were not sufficiently proved, and for that reason they had to acquit him on those charges. Now, for the ones that he was found guilty, he found that he has actually committed an offense, so they are now waiting on putting a sentence to him. I followed the case, and I got it that he was acquitted for not being the cause, or there were no evidence against a civil war. He had an ID card. Those are charges, some of the charges that were being acquitted. But on the other side, he was also found guilty for charges of terrorism and secessionist.
Now, when you look at the charges for which he was acquitted, civil war, killings, destruction of properties, and if we put aside the fact that the non-possession of the national identity card, all the others are connected to terrorism, for which he has been declared guilty, because a terrorist inflicts terror, kills, destroys, and causes civil wars.
No, you see, there is a legislation on terrorism. So maybe there were not sufficient evidence adduced by the Commissaire de Gouvernance, the State Council, that could warrant the court to hold him guilty for those offenses. Probably the evidence not being present, the only way they could put the other side was to hold him maybe on the offenses of terrorism. Those are offenses clearly specified under the terrorism law, so they could not have found him guilty if there were not sufficient proofs on that.
No, the case had to pull long into the night. The previous day, it pulled into the night, and it was adjourned to the next day, and after that it was scheduled for 2 p.m. It started late into the night. Yeah. What can explain?
No, we all know that this is a political trial.
And our correspondent sent information to us indicating that the president of the Yaoundé Military Court locked herself in her office, yes, saying that she was preparing for deliberations.
Yes, you see, this is a political trial, and Mancho BBC is too known. So I think that's the joker that the government has. So there is a lot of things on the ground that are happening. We all know that the trial is not fair, and the sentence is not forthcoming as the other ones. There were some that were being acquitted and discharged even. Some are acquitted and not discharged. So to him, he is acquitted for some and being held for others. And the court still finds a way to forward the case, whereas at that time I don't see what it causes. It causes the presiding judge to levy his sentence. So you see, the way I look at it is that the government is like trying to see how they can use Mancho BBC in trying to see how they come out of this crisis, because they know that maybe slamming a heavy sentence on him, which will come in the days ahead, may create another turn of this crisis. So they're like trying to see, should we leave it go, or how should we handle it? So we all know what is happening on the ground.
And despite calls from the civil society, from human rights defenders like Barrister Agbo Bala, who is the president of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, who went canvassing for international support in Mauritania, calling for the freedom of these persons so that dialogue can take its course, so that normalcy can return to the two Anglophone regions of the country. Penterens and the others are sentenced. 6 others were sentenced a day before yesterday.
To me, I don't see, the government is not ready to dialogue, because I don't see why we have the solution at hand and we don't try to implement it. I don't see what is causing, or why is it taking too much time on the government to call the so-called dialogue that we are all of us singing and singing. And at the way the crisis is now, I don't even think that dialogue is still a solution, because when you hear some people they are talking about it has moved from dialogue to negotiation. You have arrested my own leaders. On the other side, you have arrested my own subject. The other ones now say, no, we now need to come to the table and negotiate. So it's not more from the beginning. We could easily call parties to come, let's talk. But now it is as if the thing is now, everybody is now becoming autonomous. That should we come to the table, you bring out your cards as you have, I bring mine, and then let's negotiate. So the government is at the result of all this crisis because the cards were at hand. If the crisis was properly managed, we wouldn't have found ourselves where we are today. We all know how it started, but because of the poor handling of the situation by the government, who in the first place did not even recognize that there was a problem, later on came in that there was a problem. Today, we are just like in a civil war. People don't live where they used to live. People are in refugee camps, and the government is saying nothing. We all know how the Cameroonian people stood up when there was this fight in the north. We had support given to those who were in the refugee camps. The support, financial support, were even going to the military personnel. But since the Anglophone crisis, the refugees who are in Nigeria, who has altered the world, even the good people who want to, the NGOs who want to see how they could bring their own humanitarian support, are even forbidden
from entering the country.
So I don't know if it's really unfortunate that Anglophones are treated this way, but
just yesterday, to show how worse the situation is becoming on the ground, the senior discipline master of Government Balingo High School, Kosala, was shot dead and another student injured.
Well, that's not a solution.
We saw the situation in Bello. The village is completely deserted.
This crisis is making us lose a lot of lives. People are dying from both sides. I don't think we deserve. My cry still goes to the head of state that he inherited a Cameroon, a peaceful Cameroon, and all my prayer is that he should also leave the country in a peaceful way. People are losing their lives. The army are losing people. People are not comfortable. Business is down. Activities are down. Students are not safe. That's the principal who was performing his duty. Taken like that.
And when we look at all the measures that have been taken by government, even the decisions of the military corps regarding the case of these Anglophone detainees, many will say that it's like adding salt to the wound.
Yes, I joined that say, because the president started by releasing some. He said all those who were arrested within that Anglophone crisis should be released. Some were released, some were withheld. Now, those who are behind, those who are still undergoing trial, slamming them again, jail sentences of 10, 12, 13. It won't be an easy thing for their families to accept or their sympathizers to accept. Mancho BBC on the other side is standing trial to even go as far as even the death penalty. Do you think that people who are behind him would like to accept such verdicts? Okay, the sentences have been meted. Has the crisis stopped? No. So I think the solution should be elsewhere. These people should be released. The head of state take his responsibility as the head of state. I want to put an end. Release everybody. Call for the dialogue that we are singing, and let's see whether we can have a way forward.
Release everybody.
Everybody, because
including Sisiku, Ayuk Tabe and his collaborators.
If we have been able to negotiate with more terrorists than them, Boko Haram terrorists, we have negotiated, we have given money, we have dialogue with them. So I don't think Ayuk Tabe is a problem. They can bring him, he can be called, the president can invite him, that okay, you are the head behind all this, if the thing is the one. We want to put a stop. What do you want? When everybody is outside, listening from him, head of state as well tells us, okay, this is how we think we can handle the issue.
But since they were arrested in the Federal Republic of Nigeria and brought back into the country, and the Minister of Communication and Government spokesperson Issa Chuma Bakari said that they're in the hands of the judiciary and that they were going to face the law. Nothing is being said about them. They're not even, people are not given access to meet them. Their families and even lawyers went there to meet them.
There is something still battering my mind. Among one of the people who were arrested, like Barrister Nalowabi, that is my promotion mate in the Nigerian law school. Ever since this arrest happened, we have not heard about any of them. We are told that they are in good state and within the Cameroon territory. I don't see why there's not that possibility of presenting them to the public is still a problem. Arrest, you said you have arrested them, handcuff them and present them to the public. So to me, I don't even want to bother my mind so much that these people are alive. So if they are, let them present them, or let the government give access to lawyers to even talk to them. So I don't want to bother my mind so much on whether they are there, because I know I've not seen them. Nobody has heard from them. So why do we still make as if they are existing?
Barrister Tamfu Richard, thanks for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us in this edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Goodbye.